Hello, I just wanted to show off a build that I've been working on. It's definitely not optimized in terms of like how I've gone about scaling damage, but in the direction that I've taken, I think short of throwing some serious divines at my weapon, this is as far as it goes. So this is a Living Lightning build. I cast the Stormbrand, and then on hit, the Stormbrand will proc Living Lightning, which, as you can see, is supported by a lot of gems. This is done using a multi-link weapon, which I got for, I think, 3 divines. And it's linked to a Squire, which, yeah. And so this way, my Living Lightnings can scale damage without needing to use Shaco, which is nice because then that lets me try and use the Dark Monarch. I decided to go this route instead of Spectres because Living Lightning is invulnerable, and so I don't need to scale minion life this way. Worth noting that I also use volatility support because the lightning minions have a very large damage range difference, and then for my amulet, I've got the damage is lucky with Purple's Toe. I also scale some defenses and damage with Queen's Hunger, Leash of Ablation, and using a lot of increased duration to scale to make sure that I always have the 3 offerings permanently up. This also has the benefit of making it so that I don't have to actually press a lot of buttons in a single target situation because all my debuffs, 16 seconds, my conductivity lasts 30 seconds almost. My smite buff is for 8 seconds or so. So all my buffs last a very long amount of time, which means that in general, I'm casting my brand, smiting, and then very rarely I'll have to do this and then cast Signal Prey as well. So that's pretty much the build. I am going to try and run a fortress. I will show a bit of the map clear and then talk a bit more about the build before I do the boss, which will take a long time because the damage here is not that great. So just... It's worth noting that you are a little bit squishy when you start the map because it takes a little bit of time for the first offering to kick in. And without the offering, you don't have any block. Not really. With the offering, you're basically block capped between the offering and your the Guardian Ascendancy that gives block whenever you cast or attack, which is pretty good. But you can see that in general, clear is pretty chill. I'm very fast because I've been scaling damage not just with offerings but also with auras. So I have Smite and Wrath on Generosity, and I'm also running Haste and Precision for crit and attack speed. And as you can see, this means that I just happen to be really fast, at least by my standards. I'm actually not used to moving around so quickly, and as a result, I've actually sometimes died because I've just completely overrun things and like I've just been moving too quickly and run into things that I was trying to dodge instead. But yeah, clear is pretty chill. You drop a brand every once in a while. The minions will clear the rest of it up. And like you do need to make sure to smite so that you don't smite around increase your damage by about 40%. So you definitely want to make sure that is that's up as much as possible. What else? In terms of in terms of defenses, this build doesn't really have many defenses outside of the fact that it doesn't need to stand still to do a lot of its damage. Like I've got some regen from Vitality, and then apart from that, there's block cap, and I have I do have a Taste of Hate, which is enchanted to give me, which is enchanted to for me to drink it when I take a savage hit. And what that means is, it means that if I can survive one hit that makes it through my block, it basically puts me up to full health, and then lets me, try and go back to full health again. But yeah, apart from that, there's not much in terms of defenses. I am running a Determination for what that's worth, but that just means that I don't instantly die when I take a physical hit. My max phys is very low, and it's not something... Oh god, that is solely dumb. I'm gonna mess with that. Yeah, my max hit is pretty low, even with the Determination. I don't know where the boss is, which is a bit unfortunate. It's worth noting that you can very easily accidentally kill yourself by because if you remove skills from Queen Tunga, it actually resets the duration of all of the buffs. And because I am running the Katarina increased effective offerings ascendancy, it will kill you. Which is why when I pulled out the support where I've just stored it, you need to actually unequip and then re-equip this body armor to reset everything without you dying. So I don't need melee splash for the boss. This gives me a little bit more damage, which I desperately need. So apply my assassin's mark, signal prey, apply my curse, and now I'm basically just trying to not get hit because I think I will get one shot if I don't block by a lot of the hits in this build. Ooh. I'm pretty sure I can't do this deathless. But yeah, that's the build. Oh, and it's almost dead. Oh well, too bad. And there we go. I hope you guys found this somewhat interesting. I'm actually quite happy with how far this build got, even though it's not, you know, going to be able to do Ubers. I never really thought I'd be able to take it to the point where it could somewhat comfortably finish a Nightmare map. So, yeah, I'll quickly go over all the gear that I haven't got touched yet. But mainly it's resistances and attributes on my rings, resistances on my boots and my gloves. I do run Intimidate and Exposure on the gloves. And the boots have life regen as well, which is quite handy. The brittle ground is fake. I should already be crit capped. So that's just something that I haven't bothered to reroll. On the tree, there's nothing too crazy. I have a fairly cheap minion cluster. That's really just there for the minion damage and increased effect. I do run 2 Megalomaniacs with Vicious Bite plus other useful notables. There's like a bunch that are quite handy. You just need Vicious Bite and then the others are whatever you want. And then finally there's also an Impossible Escape, which lets me apply Assassin's Mark on top of Conductivity. And then also just a very handy wheel. And finally, there is the Watcher's Eye, which gives me phasing and a bit of extra physical damage reduction. When it comes to scaling the duration of your offerings, it's worth noting that until you can afford to buy the Anoint for Hollow Effigy, you probably want to be running Corpse Walkers instead of a rare boot, and that's perfectly fine. You're just a little bit squishier. The moment you switch to rare boots, you can't guarantee that you're always going to have a corpse, which means that you really need to scale duration quite heavily. One handy thing about the Impossible Escape is that you can get an extra 12% increased skill effect duration, which will take you over what you need before you get skill effect duration on the Katarina node. So without this node, I actually had to take this chaos damage and skill effect duration node to be able to keep it up permanently. That's a little note. Um, I think. Oh yes, another thing is I don't bother taking spiritual aid because I don't do very much damage, um, and this lets me run reflect maps. So this build can run Fizz reflect and elemental reflect maps because even though we do a little bit of elemental damage, it's not enough, and you can just tank it. So yeah, that's the build. Oh, in terms of defenses, we're also mostly reflect immune, crit immune. I've got 30 here, 20 here, and then another 30 here. So, yep. Hope you guys found this interesting.